Rampage.
Hey guys, this is Wisper coming at you again with another IO commentary video. This one is about the updates that I have made to my 3000 commend IO guide, which is the build that I play by when I play IO in Dota. Within a week or two of this patch coming out, they have changed the way that Tether has been updated. So I've made this video in order to explain how I've changed my guide to match these new updates. As we can see on screen, I'm putting up the wording now. The tether has changed so that your move speed as an IO matches the move speed of your tether target. And ultimately, this upsets the old build that I was playing with, and I want to explain why and how I've changed in response. Before we do that, you can see I am playing IO and Lich in offlane, and I want to begin this video by saying, don't play IO and Lich in offlane. It was a terrible idea. I'm playing with a friend of mine. We tried this twice. It doesn't work. You'll see me leave this lane relatively soon, but what it does allow me to do is put stuff on the screen that won't distract you from how terrible of a job we're doing in this offlane. But I promise you, it only gets better from here. I'm going to put up on my screen the old build that I was playing with before 7.12 and the changes to Tether. I'm going to give a quick explanation of why everything works. The first 4 items that you purchase are Soul Ring, Tranquil Boots, Wand, and Urn. And those 4 items give you a core set of regen items. Wand, Urn, and Tranquil Boots allow you to heal your HP, while Soul Ring makes sure that you can increase your MP, while also all 4 of these items allow you to maximize these regen abilities by giving them to other players through Tether. Beyond your core regen set, I would personally go Veil of Discord, Eul Scepter, and Spirit Vessel. And after Spirit Vessel, there would be a variety of endgame items you would choose based on the team you were up against. Veil of Discord gives +6 armor to IO, which is very important. He's a very low armor hero and always has been, and used to get his armor from his talents. Now that the talents have been changed as of 7.07, which was several months ago, the way in which IO gets his armor has been compensated for by this item purchase. Not only that, you get a variety of stats, including HP regen, which IO always loves, and it combos very well with the level 15 talent that gives +90 spirits damage. By activating the Veil of Discord debuff on somebody, you're really heavily increasing the amount of damage that your spirits can do. After Veil of Discord, I would personally go for Eul Scepter of a Divinity. Eul's would fix your mana regen problems, which you would probably be having by this point, and it would also make sure that you had 1 more move speed, but 2 access to Cyclone. And Cyclone has a variety of uses, offensive and defensive, that allow you to keep yourself alive, control enemies' movement and their channeling spells, including TPs, defensive, offensive uses, a lot of really great ways to use Eul's. And finally, Spirit Vessel, which is a really classic upgrade to Urn of Shadows, makes Urn of Shadows relevant for the endgame, and allows you to do additional damage as well as prevent healing on the enemy team. The reason that this build worked so well before 7.12 is that there are several very big move speed items. Tranquil Boots is the fastest move speed boot of any of the boots that are available, and between Eul Scepter and Spirit Vessel, IO was getting +70 move speed from those 2 items. When Tranquil Boots were not active, which is when IO was fighting things or taking physical damage, IO was moving at 430 move speed, and when he tethered to another person, this was almost 500 move speed in the endgame. That is a lot of move speed for someone who suddenly has a lot of damage from spirits, who has a Veil of Discord debuff, who can disrupt other players, and as a result, I found this build very effective. The problem is that now boots don't really make sense on IO anymore. Io's move speed is no longer based off of the items that he has in his inventory. It's based off of the movement speed of the person or NPC that you're targeted to with Tether. And the only thing that increases your move speed is increasing their move speed. As a result, Tranquil Boots, Yule Scepter, Spirit Vessel as this core mobility set within this build doesn't really make any sense anymore. And as a result, I've changed the build accordingly. To some people's potential dismay, and I want to talk about why. What you're seeing on screen now is the current build that I'm working with and what I approve of in being the 7.13 post-tether changes guide that I play with. I want to explain the differences. The first and most obvious one is that Tranquil Boots is missing from the core item setup. And I know a lot of people are going to find this very dismaying because I know I did when I was first trying to theorize this build. Tranquil Boots is a fantastic healing item that regens the damage that you give yourself with Soul Ring. It also means that through Tether, without having to do anything, you can regen other players on your team and make sure that they're gaining health incredibly rapidly, because the health you gain through Tranquils is so rapid to begin with that when it's amplified by Tether, it's even stronger. And having that backbone of having Tranquil Boots was always a really nice passive healing buff that you could give to other players. What I have done is remove Tranquil Boots because Tranquil Boots doesn't work anymore. The bonus move speed that you get from Tranquils doesn't matter because you're going to be tethered to somebody else when you're using it, for the most part. And furthermore, the whole concept of boots on Io as a whole just doesn't make sense. So what I've done is I have increased the rate at which we get our other healing items, and I think that's important because relative to where you are in the game at the time, it's more than enough. Soul Ring gives you an additional 2 HP regen that is multiplied by your strength and ultimately becomes stronger than just 2. And this gives you a relatively okay passive healing base to begin the game with. Getting a magic wand on top of that increases your HP regen even further. And at this point in the game, maybe level 3, 4, 5, you're healing over 6 HP regen per second. Through Tether, this is something close to 8 when you're tethered to another person, which is stronger than a Tango would heal them. A Tango heals for about 7 HP per second, and Io's giving more than that with just those 2 items. And after Wand, we're rushing into Urn. Urn of Shadows has always been a really classic healing item, but now in this build, the weight that Urn of Shadows carries for Io has been increased quite heavily. It's an item that I used to think that I should spam ping the item. By alt-clicking the item, you say to everyone in your party, I'm buying Urn of Shadows. And I used to forget to do that, and I used to think, well, it's not the end of the world, if someone buys it, it's not. If someone else buys Urn of Shadows now, it's really detrimental, because those urn charges are the main way that you're maintaining your health as well as other people's health now that Tranquil Boots is missing. That being said, you gain access to those urn charges way faster than you normally would, because normally you'd stop and spend 1,000 gold on Tranquil Boots before you ever got into urn. And all those early game kill interactions would never actually net you any benefit in urn charges. So what you're doing by getting a faster urn is you're giving yourself earlier access to these urn charges, which, let's be very clear, are more powerful in the early game than they are in the end game, and certainly allow Io to maintain his HP as well as the HP of his party members. Beyond these 3 items still serve as the main healing function of Io. They allow you to give people mana, they allow you to heal people passively as well as actively, and yes, while it's not as strong of a combination as if you included one of the strongest healing items in the game, what you're getting in response is a faster, more lenient build. And I think you're going to find, as this video continues, that you're able to still make very good use of the healing functionality of IO, despite not having an overwhelmingly strong healing item. I say overwhelmingly strong because when Tranquil Boots need to be active in order to heal somebody else, it's incredibly convenient. But the rest of the time, Tranquil Boots are active and you're at 100% health. They're not actually netting you any benefit, especially now that the move speed that they provide doesn't matter anymore. The reality is that what seemed to be an incredibly crucial item to IO's build, especially after the changes to 7.07 in the way that HP regen and MP regen are calculated to make them generally stronger at every level. The fact of the matter is that you don't need Tranquil Boots anymore. Not only do you not need them, they're not that helpful because of the way that Tether has been changed. And as you can see from what I'm building on the screen, the next item that I suggest for you to buy in my IO guide is drums. The only way that IO can increase his speed is by increasing the speed of the people around him. And drums has now become an incredibly crux item for IO because that's the only way that he can manage to increase his own speed, other than going through some meme plays like getting a Helm the Dominator and tethering a creep or something to that effect. Drums provide movement speed to your party. They provide stats to IO, including 7 strength, which is fantastic, not only for IO's damage, but also for his health and his ability to survive. And it also gives you mana regen. And one of the things that I was always concerned about previously was how Soul Ring fell off, how you always needed more mana than Soul Ring could provide in the mid-game. Certainly in the early game, Soul Ring was more than enough. By the time you got to 25 minutes, you were beginning to overcharge more, you would want more mana. And drums really helps to supplement your overall mana usage by not only increasing your mana pool by giving you stats, but also by increasing your passive MP regen. Not only that, but drums activation gives you increased movement speed and attack speed, which can be used in multiple ways, including ganks and escapes by increasing your movement speed, as well as pushes for increasing your attack speed. And I have found drums as a pushing agent to be incredibly effective at pushing down towers fast, making use of the time window that you have at a given tower. If you and 2 friends are pushing a tower, there is a voice in the enemy's headset saying, "Your tower's being attacked. Your tower's being attacked. Hey idiot, your tower's being attacked. Go deal with it." And you only have a certain amount of time until their willpower breaks and they go, "Fuck, I need to go deal with this stupid annoying voice that keeps telling me my tower's being attacked." If you only have 25 seconds before someone is going to come and stop you pushing, you want to be attacking as fast as possible in those 25 seconds in order to push down that tower even faster. And drums is a fantastic way. It's very synergistic with overcharge, except overcharge costs you health and mana, and quite a bit at that. Drums is a reusable, refillable, very easy way to increase group attack speed, which is not only viable for pushes, but for team fights as well. Drums can be refilled, which I think is absolutely fantastic. I don't see many professional players refilling drums, and I'm gonna have to argue for that on IO. It's such a crucial idea. By rebuying the recipe of drums for 575 gold, you can refill drums back to 6 charges. And this means that this item doesn't necessarily, you don't have to worry about using your charges and trying to limit the amount of times that you use them, because you know that you can refill it for a relatively small amount of gold. 500 gold in the mid and end game is not a lot of money. So being able to use drums charges freely in the mid and early game to escape being killed, to catch up to people, to make sure that you can push a T1 very, very fast. These are all really crucial ways to use this item. The final thing that I want to say about drums and why I like it so much is something that I never really addressed in my old build. And with my old build, what I used to go was Veil of Discord. Veil of Discord was present to increase the damage that would come from your level 15 talent. At level 15, you got plus 90 spirits damage, and that would be amplified through the magic damage debuff of Veil. At level 10, you get plus 60 melee damage. And that was always just a nice bonus. It was never really played into. I never really built around that plus 10 damage because you were too busy getting the tranquil boots and then the wand and then the urn, and by the time that was all done, it'd be 12-14 minutes in the game. You want to get moving on your mid game items. Drums allows you to play to the advantage of your level 10 talents. Because you have an item that not only makes you tankier, it makes you attack faster, it makes you able to close the distance better when your damage... I think Io has about 85 melee damage by the time he hits level 10, and then at level 10 he goes up to 145. So you have, what, an 80% increase to your melee damage in one level, and you're telling me that I also have an item in my inventory that allows me to maximize the use of that? One of the things I have definitely found in playing this build is that getting drums at this point in the game really maximizes your snowball. It really allows you to continue to grow very, very fast from level 10 and up. You no longer have to wait for level 15 in order to get a talent that your items can make use of. It happens 5 levels earlier, and that's a really big deal for me. I definitely see a lot of game impact from that item, and God forbid you use up all of the charges too early, you just buy a recipe and fill it back up again. It's a really powerful item that is, I would say, IO meta at this point. A lot of professional players are buying this. Drums is pretty much the only answer to boots that IO has now that his tether's been changed. Once you get drums, as you can again see from what I'm buying on screen, I go for Veil of Discord. For all the same reasons that we bought Veil of Discord previously. It provides armor, which IO really needs, it provides HP regen, which is always synergistic with the way IO works, and it works for the level 15 talent. So as you guys can see from the way this is developing, if there's a slider that represents the ratio between IO's build and whether it's very, very supportive or very, very carry. The slider on my build is slightly sliding towards carry. You no longer have that really strong, reliable, passive HP regen that comes from Tranquil Boots, but what you gain is a faster move speed that comes from drums, which can be not only buffs your team when you play together, but can be activated to have a whole variety of uses that will net you kills, keep people alive, and help push faster. Those 3 things are essentially how you win a game of Dota. Just keep that in mind. And from there, Veil of Discord for the exact same reasons. We're increasing the damage that we get at level 15 on top of the mobility and ability to use our level 10 damage. And we're getting the armor, we're having an increased mana pool size so that we can be casting more, which again synergizes very well with the mana regen that comes out of drums. And ultimately helps to keep IO alive. Which is very important at this point. A squishy IO is a feeding IO, and everyone who sees a feeding IO reports that IO. So being able to make sure that you have the mana regen to help the HP regen to help your team, the armor to keep yourself alive, it's just a really nice way to go. Especially at this point as the relatively minimal HP regen that comes from Soul Ring and Wand is beginning to drop off at this point. Obviously you have your Urn of Shadow charges, but those are limited. So going for the Helm of Iron Will is going to provide not just armor, but additional HP regen as well, which is going to make IO feel tankier. And I think one of the things that I really like is that you do not have to sit still for 13 seconds in order to sufficiently heal other people. Part of using Tranquil Boots in the old patch was that You could use it in a team fight even. If you tethered into somebody and you had Tranquil Boots active, you could turn on Overcharge, earn yourself, and you'd be healing for a whole heck of a lot of HP. But what you couldn't do was attack. You couldn't actually put any damage into that fight that wasn't from your spirits, because the moment that you attacked or were attacked, your Tranquil Boots would turn off. And what this build serves to do is it provides a much more reliable context for you to have constant HP regen going, so that if you do get into a fight, you don't have to sit AFK. You can pop your urn, but then you can pop Overcharge, start attacking, and pop drums. And what you can ultimately do is swing the fight in a... You can save people's lives, not by giving them HP, but by ending and affecting the fight faster than you could before. And that is a not often thought about method of saving people. If you kill everyone on the enemy team, everyone on your team is saved, and that's just simple science. So, while I am kind of making a joke here, the reality that you can have a bigger team fight impact by not having to rely on this Tranquil Boots as your main healing method ends up giving you a lot more versatility and viability in the game. After Veil of Discord, we go for Spirit Vessel. Normally in this, if I was playing my old build, we'd be getting Yule Scepter at this point. Yule Scepter was great for movement speed, it was great for mana. What I'm finding is that you don't need mana as early as you needed in the old build, because you have drums to help your regen. And as you can see on screen, I've been overcharging, I've been casting spirits. I still have quite a bit of mana. The pressure to refill your mana bar is just not there. So I go straight into Spirit Vessel. Spirit Vessel provides plus 250 HP, which is, again, great for IO. You can see it in this build. It's a very tanky build. By the time I get Spirit Vessel, I'm going to have over 2,000 HP. 7.13, which has recently come out, has affected the way that strength gives you HP for strength heroes, so all strength on IO is stronger now. But it's really surprising how much HP a mostly support hero walks away with from these items. Not only does Spirit Vessel give you 250 HP, it also gives you 30 movement speed, which, as we've talked about, is slightly redundant. You don't need 30 movement speed. It doesn't affect you in any way, other than when you're not tethered to somebody. And one of the things that I don't like about the way that IO's tether has changed is that when you're not tethered to someone, you are incredibly slow. You basically move the 295 that you begin the game with, and you never change. If you have drums, and if you have Spirit Vessel, you end up moving at 350 speed without having any tether active, which is certainly not quick, but it's definitely not painfully slow as 295. And most importantly, Spirit Vessel increases the amount of healing and damage that you can do with Urn of Shadows. And that is really important. If, as we've sort of discussed, the pressure for Urn of Shadows to be your main healing item has been increased in this build, so by increasing the strength of Urn of Shadows, you can really impact how you heal in the endgame, as well as how you damage others. Not to mention the concept that Veil of Discord and Spirit Vessel synergize, because especially in recent patches they have increased not only the damage that Spirit Vessel does, they haven't increased the damage, they've changed it from pure to magic, but they've also very recently changed the way in which the damage drains another person. It no longer drains a set current amount of HP, it drains more HP, but it has magic resistance built into it. And what you're doing is breaking down magic resistance using your Veil of a Discord. So not only is Spirit Vessel a fantastic endgame item to increase the healing that you're doing to other people and the damage that you're doing to other people, but Veil of Discord further increases that damage around the time you get level 15, which is when your spirits explodes. So what you can really see here is that this build synergizes incredibly well in order to get IO's damage off of the ground fast. You have a level 10 talent that gives you physical damage. Great, we'll give you an item that supports that function. You get spirits damage that gives you bonus damage. Great, we'll get an item that supports that function. And not only that, it passively supports all of the things that IO is looking for. Move speed, armor, HP regen, additional stats to stay alive. All of these things work synergistically together to not only allow IO to do what he was doing previously, which is saving people, putting out a lot of healing, making big plays in fights, but it allows him to impact those fights in a heavier damage way. And personally, that's what I find the most fun about IO. I haven't talked about this too much, but I've played IO for so long that there are times and games where you play as a hard support and you give everything to your carry. You make sure he has every last hit, and you box out the enemy player for 25 minutes to give him the perfect lane, and he loses the game for you because he's garbage. And he doesn't know what he's doing, and he buys the wrong items, and he feeds down middle, and it's just... It ends up becoming a bit of a waste of time, a bit of a gamble as to whether the person you can do a great job supporting, and it doesn't matter if the person you're carrying is crap. And the way that this build is developed and has been developed for years is as a way for you as an IO to have damage impact in the game just in case your carry sucks. And as time has evolved, it's become far easier, if you're really good with IO, to net those kills yourself, even with a good carry. But the whole function of this build is on the idea that not only can IO start as a support and do all the things that he needs to do as an IO, heal other people, give them mana, give them HP, relocate them to where they need to be, overcharge when they're taking damage, all of those classic IO things that you think about. Not only do you get to do that, but you get to work towards snowballing IO into a damage dealer, which the rest of the game doesn't understand how IO deals damage. They don't know how to respond to that level of output, especially as they don't realize how much damage IO does. And the reality is, he has the strongest level 1, level 4 damage dealing support spell in the game, which is spirits. So this build works. The loss of tranquil boots is a little bit scary, and I know some people out there are going to be upset at the concept that you're taking away what is such a strong and reliable healing item, but the reality is that these things aren't necessary anymore. Tranquil boots is not necessary since 7.07. Yule Scepter is not necessary in the presence of not only the changes to Tether, but also drums. These things can be further optimized. Now that the background noise has changed, they can better adapt to fit that noise. And this is what I've come up with. And it's working really, really well. I don't want to brag or anything, but there's been a lot of IO wins coming out of this build recently, and it's working really, really well for me. In terms of endgame items, there is a couple options that we can discuss. The endgame options are still essentially the same as they were previous to this patch. The two ones that I would most likely suggest for people to try would be 1 is Desolator, 2 is Heart of Tarrasque. I guess 3 would be Blink Dagger if we had to pick 3. But each of those have a really unique playstyle that helps to basically win you the game. Desolator is a fantastic damage dealing item physically that combos very well with your level 20 attack tether talent. By tethering to another player who's attacking a tower, and by you having Desolator, which removes armor from that tower, you are allowing your team to just push faster than they were previously. As you can see on screen, I've purchased a Desolator, and I'm going back to fill my drums back up, because I know that when we're pushing, not only do I want to be level 20, which I'm not yet, I know that I can further increase the amount that I'm pushing with this Deso by refilling my drums. Deso is great for team fights. It's great for just ruining weak armor players. The Shadow Shaman in this game, the Pudge, would really take a whole heck of a lot of damage if I was wailing on them with overcharge, let alone with the drums active. And it's a really fantastic pushing item in order to push in the end game. If you have to relocate with someone to push, like you see me doing right now with Juggernaut, knowing that every hit that we do on the racks will do more damage because Deso is there to remove the armor, and I even get to just one-on-one a Pudge before I go back. So getting a Deso is a really classic way to increase not only your damage output in the end game, but also your pushing output, which is something Io generally struggles with. He's not a great pusher, so being able to play up that strength is going to help you quite a bit to win the game, because no matter how many kills you get, it's all about taking down that Ancient. Second, I would say Heart of Tarask is a pretty classic choice. If the game is really going to drag on, as we can see here, the game is basically over and it's less than 30 minutes. But if we were talking about a 40-minute game, a 50-minute game, I would argue that Heart of Tarask is way more important than Deso. It's gonna give you 1,500 HP on one item, with the changes to the way strength works, and on way that strength works on strength heroes, and how much HP it gives you with the changes to, I believe they give you 5 extra armor, or 5 extra strength, I'm sorry, on Heart of Tarask now. It gives you 1,500 HP, so Io's looking just under 4,000 HP as a semi-support player, which is insane. I think anyone wouldn't argue that. And then it allows you to regen 7% of your current HP per second, which through Tether is 10% to your Tether partner, which is insane. You're healing for hundreds of HP per second. Hundreds, not 100, several hundreds of HP per second, and that is really difficult to stop. What it means is that when you're pushing with your team, you can constantly keep people refilled. If there's one really important core on your team, if for instance Juggernaut was winning the whole game for us, and if Juggernaut died, we would just lose, they would counter push and end it. Getting Heart of Tarask is great for keeping the Juggernaut up, and it's generally the best survival item for Io in the game. If you can somehow scrounge up 5,000 gold in the end game to put it together for a heart, you should win. Not 100% guaranteed, clearly, but it's pretty understandable that if you can put that money together, you're going to survive. Third and cheapest would be Blink Dagger. Blink Dagger is a bit more of a fun item. It's very situational. But again, because you have not only strong melee damage, strong spirits damage, by contracting your spirits close to you and blinking into an enemy player with Veil of Discord, you can make sure that you are dealing a lot of damage to them in a way that they can't really stop, and you can tether right out to your teammates to keep yourself alive. Great for picking off weak enemies and things like that. So I hope this video makes sense to you guys. I hope you understand why I've made the changes that I made, and I hope that in the video that you've just watched, you've seen them literally put into action. So thank you so much for paying attention. Thank you for stopping by. I hope you understand where I'm coming from, and I hope this influences your IO gameplay in the future. So good luck, get some kills, relocate safely, and I'll see you guys soon. Alright, bye.